Hello and welcome to Intro to Computer Games and Simulations here at Lorain County Community College. I am Mike Substelny, your instructor for this semester, and we're going to have a great 16 weeks together learning all about computer games and simulations. This is being recorded in the fall term of 2014. It will be used again in spring term 2015. And I want to extend a special welcome to the students who are joining us out there on cable television, also in iTunes U, and on video on demand, and possibly even YouTube this term around. We're going to give that a try. Let's talk a little bit about what's happening this semester. Oh my gosh, what have you gotten yourselves into taking this class? Well, in this class, you should expect to read some books. I have here some examples. You're going to have The Game Maker's Apprentice, which is required. This is your lab manual. Everybody needs a copy of some edition of this book. We'll try to work with whatever you've got, and that book needs to have the disc in it. You will have assets you need. Those of you who are coming to lab later on today, you should have this book by the time you get there. We will also read Game Design Workshop. I'll show you examples of that. Here's the second edition. Here's the third edition. I also have the first edition. I will accept any of those editions or none of those editions, as we're going to talk about in a few minutes. You're going to answer some homework questions that will be online. All of the points you earn in this class will be done online. So you'll be able to constantly see how you're doing. You will take tests and quizzes. There will be a quiz every week and a midterm exam and a final exam. And believe it or not, you're going to have to answer questions about games on those quizzes and tests. And you're going to create some games. That's what this lab manual is all about. You're going to be amazed that, assuming you have this book, the very first day, in the very first hour, you are going to have created a game, and it's going to be pretty fun. And I think you'll be impressed with yourselves when that happens. And you're going to, believe it or not, be compelled to play games. There will be times during this semester when you have to play a game for your homework, whether you like it or not. So, I hope you're looking forward to that. I am. All right, let's start talking about what's going on in the class and in the world of games. So, you want to be a game designer, eh? There was a time, maybe a century ago, when students were coming to college and they wanted to become the great novelist. And then in the middle of this century, it was they wanted to be the next great movie director or writer or a movie star. And today, it seems to be becoming video game designers, programmers, animators, and things like that. Let's investigate what that means to us and to our culture. How do all these dreams that college students have had compare to each other? Well, first landmark novel I could find was The Death of Arthur by Sir Thomas Malory, written in 1485. Has anybody read this book? I actually have read this book, Le Morte d'Arthur. Not especially readable, but that is the story of the Knights of the Round Table and Sir Arthur and Guinevere and all that. You may never have heard of that, although you've probably heard of the characters. They've been used in many other things. How about Robinson Crusoe, 1719? Anybody heard of that? Yeah, a lot of hands go up for Robinson Crusoe, and some of you have probably even read Robinson Crusoe. That one's very readable. That one's kind of fun. This is a title most of you probably know. Now, how about Pride and Prejudice, 1813? I bet everybody in this classroom and everybody watching on television has heard of Pride and Prejudice, which comes to us from the golden age of novels and is constantly being remade into movies and TV miniseries and things like that because it is such a popular classic story that has stayed with us. And that entered us into the golden age of novels around 1813. Hollywood then also had its own golden age in the middle of this century, and we're not really here to debate when that golden age began and ended. You can save that for a film appreciation class if you like. However, let's compare Hollywood to computer games, because they're a lot easier to compare than novels. All right, if you look at the motion picture industry, I'm going to say that started out 1895 as an industry, because that's when the Lumiere brothers first got people to watch a movie and give them money to watch a film performed in public. So it became a profitable enterprise at that point in the entertainment industry. Then in 1927, there was a little thing called the jazz singers. Anybody heard of the jazz singer? A couple of people in the classroom have heard of the jazz singer. Jazz singer, anybody, why it is famous? You don't have to hit your button. It is famous because of the first talkie. It was the first non-silent movie that had a soundtrack that went along with it. But a lot of people haven't heard of that. Isn't it interesting? But then in 1939, you had Gone with the Wind and The Wizard of Oz. And by 1942, you've got Casablanca, Citizen Kane. These are probably all movies you've heard of before. Let's look at computer games. I'm going to say the video game industry started in 1971. Now, that's the first computer game wasn't in 1971. There were earlier computer games than that. But this is when people were paying money to play a video game that was called Computer Space. So it first became profitable to make a computer game at that point. And then if we look, 2003, about the same distance as the jazz singer would be when Halo and World of Warcraft around this area would be about the same as the jazz singer, something that a century later, or not even a century later, almost a century later, 90 years later, most of you haven't heard of. Maybe 90 years from now, most people won't have heard of these. Maybe. But if you look at the progression of time moving along there, we get into where we are about now. The Gone with the Wind, The Wizard of Oz, the Casablanca, the Citizen Kane, those things could be written by people in this classroom right now. In fact, one of you might write the Casablanca of computer games. And I hope you're pretty excited about that. I know that I am. Now, that timeline is just something I made up. We may or may not be entering into the golden age of computer games right this very moment. I kind of think we are. So, whoever you are who writes that game, you are going to be remembered for decades. Long after you're gone, they're going to be talking about your fabulous masterpiece, and they will have forgotten about Halo and World of Warcraft and all those other games that are household names right now. All right, we're going to be covering Chapter 1 now in Game Design Workshop. As I said, I will accept any of these editions of the book. This is the third edition that the bookstore has. If you're going to be in the gaming industry, this book has nothing at all about doing computer programming in it. This book is about what is fun, and it looks into entertaining people and helps you pick apart what is fun and not fun about games, and helps you understand how to make your games more fun. If you're going to be in the gaming industry, this is not a bad book to own. But there is also a free online version of this game that I have linked to in the class. So if you want to experiment with reading an online book, you are welcome to do that, and it won't cost you anything. Completely up to you. Some people like reading online books. Some people try it for a week and hate it and run out and find either a used copy or a new copy. That's fine. I'll do my best to always make the references to page numbers work for all three editions in this class. As you might expect, that first edition refers to old games, probably from when you were little kids, and the newer one would be newer games. Other than that, very similar books. So we're going to talk about Chapter 1, the role of the game designer today.